What's good, people? How's it going? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, please do subscribe down below, smash the like, hit the bell. Those things help out a lot. YouTube just notify people when we upload, so just make sure you smack that bell. Anyway guys, today we got a dope episode for you. It's all about trimming. A lot of people got different opinions when it comes to trimming, so we're gonna break everything down. Now, while many growers treat harvest like it's the final stage of cultivation, it's actually far from the end. Along with improving their looks, trimming flowers makes for smoother smoking, greater potency, and reduces mold formation too. So I'm gonna cover every step of the trimming process in today's episode, compare and contrast the two methods, wet trimming and dry trimming, because there are pros and cons to both. One is not necessarily better than the other, it all depends on your situation. So I'm going to go through that and show you how to do it right. Now, before I get into all that, I want to find out what you guys think. Do you prefer wet trimming or dry trimming? I did a poll on this recently and we got a lot of votes on it. So if you haven't been checking out our polls, we're always doing polls and we always want to find out what you guys think. So drop a comment down below and let me know if it's wet trim or dry trim. Which side of the fence are you on? Now guys, we just want to let you know, yesterday we had a dope Talking Loud podcast episode with Ari from Dino Micro. Definitely check it out. He dropped a lot of knowledge on there, and you can use the discount code ICANTHC and save yourself some cash on all Dino Micro products on Amazon and on their official website. So definitely check it out, man. Ari's a super cool cat and he drops some gems when it comes to getting those strong, healthy, super fat roots. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Now, without further ado, guys, let's get into today's episode. Yes guys, now most growers agree that harvest time is the most rewarding part of the growing cycle. After months of raising your seedlings into mature, flowering plants, you're finally able to sample the fruits of your labor, right? But you still got work to do, Tiger. You need to do that properly. You need to prepare your flowers for drying, curing, and storage. If you guys want me to break down drying and curing, guess what? I did that already. So check out our previous episode where we went into depth about drying and curing so you can get the fantastic results that you're after. Because think of it this way, if you do it correctly, you'll have flowers that look and taste awesome. Trust me, it's worth the time and effort. Now, one thing I didn't go through in that video was trimming. So today's episode is all about trimming. It's a key step, of course. Trimming the sugar leaves off of your buds, clipping the branches off of the plant. Trimming is super important. Even when your plant is growing, you trim. It's called defoliation. There are different ways to trim, but it's all the same thing. You trim shit. Now, have you ever gone to the dispo or the coffee shop and you got those nice flowers? Literally just look like nugget-sized buds. So perfect. Well, those are the result of manicuring. Another word for trimming. Now, it's not just down to the looks, because those flowers will also smell better, taste better, and stay fresher after a good trim. So let's dive deeper into why you should trim after harvest and consider the different techniques that you can use to get the job done. Now, just in case there was anyone that was wondering, why exactly should I trim my flowers? Why can't I just use them right away? Why can't I roll them up and enjoy them? Well, if you do that, there's actually a lot of excess plant material on there. Trimming those sugar leaves off will help ensure that your flowers are free of mold and that excess plant material. The plant material is actually what gives you a lot of that hay smell, makes it taste kind of planty and earthy. You don't really want that. So a proper trim really gets out the aesthetics, the aroma, a smoother final product, and higher cannabinoid content. Because think of it this way, most of the trichomes that produce cannabinoids and terpenes reside on the flowers. By flowers I mean buds. Sugar leaves do produce trichomes, but in much fewer numbers. After trimming your buds down, the ratio of plant material to cannabinoids will be much more in your favor. You don't want a lot of that plant material in there. It really doesn't taste good, guys. So now that you know there are many benefits to proper trimming, you just need to figure out how to do it right. Some growers prefer to trim immediately after harvesting their flowers, whereas others like to dry out their flowers beforehand. Both of these techniques feature their own benefits and their own downfalls, as with everything in life. Now, once you grab your pruners or your scissors, there are two options. You can wet trim or you can dry trim. Alternatively, if you got a trimming machine, you can use that, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people just trim by hand. Like me, I'm a hand trimmer. Now, different growers have their own preferences, but they all end up at the same result, pretty much, if all goes well. Anyway, I hope all goes well. But let's look at wet trimming first. Now, wet trimming pretty much means cutting away the sugar leaves immediately after harvesting your flowers. Because they still hold a lot of water, the flowers remain wet and ultra sticky. Dry trimming, on the other hand, is as the name suggests. It takes place between drying and curing. You dry your flowers and then you trim them. Dry flowers are much less sticky, but they are a little bit more tricky to trim. As the plants dry, the leaves literally curl around the buds, and it can be difficult to get those leaves out sometimes. You really just need to be patient. Put on a good show, grab your trimmers and trim away. Actually, put on something on the ICANTHC channel and trim away. You'll get smarter while you do it. Now when you trim by hand, you really can get in there and manicure those buds properly, and allows you to get great attention to detail. Some commercial grow operations use machine trimmers, and they're available in different sizes, shapes, and different price points. Now while there's some great machines out there, a lot of them have a reputation for damaging otherwise pristine flowers. That's not really ideal, is it? So they can save you time, but do you really want to sacrifice quality for time? I know which way I'm going. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna put on the ICANN THC channel, and I'm gonna trim away and manicure my buds nicely. Perfect. I like nice buds. Now like I said, there's wet trim and there's dry trim. There are pros and cons for each depending on where you live, depending on your environment, depending on what's going on with your grow setup.
This video is brought to you by Mars Hydro, where they have a variety of grow lights and grow tents for growers of all experience levels. Whether you're a small home grower or setting up a slightly bigger commercial operation, they have the tents and lights for you. They have tents for every space and need, including the new 2-in-1 tents. And they also have a wide variety of lights to choose from, including full spectrum LED and the new detachable FCE series. Links to all of the products that we use on this channel, including the Mars Hydro grow lights, are in the description below. Be sure to use the links below to support the ICANN THC channel. You can also save a few bucks on the Mars Hydro website by using the code ICANNTHC at checkout for store-wide savings. Don't forget to use the code and save yourself a few bucks. Now, back to the video.
Now like I said, there's wet trim and there's dry trim. There are pros and cons for each depending on where you live, depending on your environment, depending on what's going on with your grow setup. I'm going to throw up on screen now some of the advantages and disadvantages when it comes to wet trimming. For wet trimming, it's useful in preventing mold in climates with high humidity. So if you live somewhere that's constantly moist, when you dry those flowers, it can really cause you some issues. So wet trimming may be a better option. You've got less chances of mold and bud rot developing. Some folks say that wet trimming streamlines the process a lot. So once you harvest, you trim, and then you dry, and then you cure. There's nothing in between. Another advantage is that some flowers dry faster without the sugar leaves. So depending on your environment, that may be something you want to do. And they say growers are able to dry more flowers on their drying rack. But I'm not a fan of drying racks. I like to hang my shit. What do you like to do? Do you use drying racks or do you hang your stuff? Drying racks just means you gotta flip them occasionally so you don't get pancake bud. Now a lot of people frown upon wet trimming. It is a much stickier process and it makes it feel more tedious. It can get really frustrating. Another reason is that when you wet trim, the flowers may dry too fast and that can take away the flavor. Have you ever had flower that dried super quick and lost all its taste? Yeah, that happens. That's why the dry and cure is super freaking important. No matter which way you decide to trim, the dry and cure is what you can't mess up. And like I said, we've got a whole video on drying and curing, so check it out. Now when it comes to wet trimming, some growers say that the flowers become less dense and compact, which some growers don't like. And I'm not 100% sure on that one, so you guys can let me know if that's happened to you. Now let's jump on over to dry trimming. When it comes to dry trimming, you trim after you dry. So you dry the plant with a lot of that plant matter on, and that helps to protect the flowers. Dry trimming is ideal in places with low humidity levels, so that plant matter will help to slow down the dry process, and like I said, if it dries too fast you can lose your taste, so it's a good option in places with lower humidity. A lot of growers report that the flowers become nice, compact, and nugget like, really dense flowers. Now I can vouch for that one because I almost always dry trim. And the big reason for that is that the flowers dry at a slower rate and maintain their full flavor, which is big. If they dry too fast, it loses a lot of that flavor. Now it's not all rainbows and sunshines because there are disadvantages when it comes to dry trimming. Sugar leaves can store pockets of moisture which leads to mold, so that's not good. Mold sucks and that can ruin your entire crop. Quick time. Another disadvantage is that dry trim flowers lose their initial color quite quickly. So if you got some really purple flowers, when you dry trim, it may not keep that bright purple. That purple may fade a lot back to a sort of greenish sort of thing. It just won't be as vibrant. Perhaps the most frustrating disadvantage when it comes to dry trimming is that those dried sugar leaves become even smaller and harder to cut in a clean fashion. Now simply put, when your plant dries, the leaves shrivel up, they lose water, all the moisture comes out of the plant. So a leaf that was this big becomes this big. It just gets smaller. And sometimes trimming those out cleanly, manicure your buds perfectly can be difficult. And if I'm being honest, sometimes I just leave them in there and when I'm breaking down my flower, I just pull them out. But it depends on how small they are though, because like I said, leaving too much plant matter can cause issues with mold and stuff like that. So as you guys can see, there's no right and wrong answer when it comes to wet trimming, dry trimming, which one is better, which one is worse. There's no real answer to that. It all depends on your environment, your situation, and what works best for you. Because wet trimming may work in his environment, but it may not work in his environment. So everyone needs to figure out what works in your environment. That's exactly what's going on. You see what I'm trying to say? Anyway guys, drop a comment down below and let me know which method you prefer, which method you do, and which method works for you. I'm always interested to find out what you guys got to say. So smash the freaking like for perfectly manicured flowers. And don't forget to hit the bell. But wait, first, check out this video right here and this video right here, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace, fam.